Pause here.
How's everybody doing? So, all right, thank you. So I hear it, ship it right after I'm done, and there's beer being served, so it sounds like I am in the way of you and alcohol, right? Now, last time I did speak, I spoke to the AUG leaders, and I was in their way of alcohol. So it went from an hour presentation to like a 5-minute talk. So hopefully I won't go the whole time, and hopefully we can ask questions or get out here earlier and I'll go and drink, okay? So, yeah, and I got clapping. Hey, we haven't even started yet. I mean, come on. You're in for a treat, okay? Save the best for last. That's what I keep on telling myself. I have to tell you something, and before we start, I do not tell a lot of people this, and it's personal to me, but I have something that I'm not happy about, and that is I am absolutely colorblind. Okay, I found this on Google, and I'm like, okay, I have absolutely no clue what. Is there a number there? So is there actually a number in this picture? Okay, what picture? What number is it? Okay, so I have no clue. Okay, do we have any other colorblind people here today? Can you see it? Okay. Okay, I know how you feel, brother. So I cannot see it, and one of the things that is extremely important to me is I value the opinion of the actual people who are can see colors, right? I want to tell you a quick story. Is a couple of days ago I was getting ready to work, and I'm like, oh, I'll pick these two outfits out, and I picked an outfit out, and my wife caught me mid getting out of the door and said, "What are you doing?" Right? And I'm like, "What? I'm just heading to work," right? And she's like, no, turn around, get your butt back into the closet, change, and come back out. So I'm like, okay, but she's like, first let me take a picture. So she took a picture of me, right? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about, right? And she's like, I said, honey, these colors are the same thing, right? I'm wearing 2 shades of green. I should be fine, right? And she looks at me and goes, no, you have a, and again, I can't see it. I think it's a green and a brown. So she's like, okay, go and change. So I go, okay, fine, I'll go and change. And I put something on the same color, right? And I'm going, honey, I'm sick and tired of this. I've got to go. Please just tell me what to wear, so I don't look like an ass, right? So the thing is, right, is not to tell you that I'm an ass and I don't get colors right. But the thing is that feedback to me is extremely important. Why? Because I would go out looking horrible. And yes?
You're lucky you've got an excuse. My wife tells me that, and I'm not colorblind.
Well, I was going to tell you, but we'll talk later. So the thing is, guys, is that we absolutely love, I love feedback, right? It helps me become a better person, a better father. My wife loves to give me great feedback. As well as within this company, we love feedback. It's driven in the last couple of years what we do as a company, and I really hope that from what you saw this week, especially in the keynote, is that we are listening, and the feedback that we take is extremely important to us. The one thing I want to kind of talk about in my agenda and kind of some of this talk is there's 3 areas, and what I really want to do is not, I don't know, I hate talks where it's like, hey, look at me, look at what we did, and here's how cool it is. I really want to do something today, is I want to be able to give you the information so you guys can all go back and hopefully learn from it and do the same. Now, how many of you guys work for companies that have customers? Yeah, no shit, right? We should all be raising our hand, right? We're here. Okay. By the show of hands, how many of us get feedback from our customers? Okay, good. So, hopefully this is extremely valuable to you. If it isn't, then please make sure you give me an extremely bad score in my survey after, and I will work to improve it for next year if Ryan lets me come up again. All right, so first let's talk about the feedback. did you guys see at the keynote the NPS thing? So the people who aren't there, is that we gather feedback from numerous sources. Over the last year and a half, we really kind of tried to learn two things. One, what is our feedback of people like you, administrators, business administrators, tech, as well as what we call our end users, right? People that might be working in marketing, development, things like that. So we have done that through something called the Net Promoter Score. How many of you have gotten the actual Net Promoter Score in your instance? 1, 2, 3, okay, 4. Hopefully you guys gave 10, 5. Okay, so hopefully you got some good reviews. If you didn't, please let us know how we can improve. For the people that are behind the firewall or on server, we hope to have this to you in the next couple of months. So again, we gauge this through Net Promoter Score. Now, one of the things that we noticed here was that we had really great feedback through NPS, but as we started learning about all this information, we found out there were not only great feedback from our NPS modal, but also from numerous other areas. Some of it support, right? Jack, which is juria.atlassian.com, which probably many of you are going in there and putting in tickets and giving recommendations and giving us ways that we can improve. And finally, social media. So one of the things we looked at as we started gauging all this feedback was there was a lot of feedback and a lot of opinions. But what that actually led us to was to be covered up in a lot of data. Now you guys remember how many we got a week? Okay. Right now we are about 15,000 pieces of comments a week. I come from, previous to this company, I came from GoDaddy, where we had about 14 million customers, and it was double that, and absolutely crazy. But 15,000 customers with feedback is a lot. And you imagine yourselves probably getting some of that feedback from some of your customers. What do I do with that? How can I understand that all? That's exactly what we went through, right? And oftentimes we were swimming in extremely valuable information, but we just didn't know what to do with it, right? If you actually look at it, and on average, it takes about a person about an hour to read about 100 to 200 comments. So if you look at how many times an hour times 8, there's no way that somebody would actually get through 15,000, one person a week, right? Times that by the other 6 products that we have. So we had to look at what we could do to gauge all that feedback, understand it, and actually implement changes to the company. So how many of you see this yourself in your business? And I'll read this to you. It's from Charles Kettering. He says, there's a great difference between knowing and understanding. You can know a lot about something and really not understand it, right? So how many times are you probably getting some feedback or getting data or learning about something? You know it, but you really don't understand the importance of it. So as it came to a lot of our feedback, we knew that it was important. We knew that it was valuable, but we really didn't understand it because it was so much. So what we ended up doing was we saw all this data. And this is some really cool stuff that I want to share with you, and again, hopefully we can apply, is we saw with all this data, we saw 3 themes. The first theme that we looked at was reliability. Now again, as you guys are looking at your products, I want you to think, okay, do I get feedback that talks about reliability? Now when I mean reliability, I talk about things like, one of the things that we looked at was performance. Things weren't performing as well as they needed to be. It was slow. Uptime, quality. I really want, the product is great, but it's not really what I expected. Last is security, right? Some of the feedback that we got on some of our cloud information was the security of our instances. Was it safe? Now, we are safe, however, there's concerns about it, right? So when we looked at it, we looked at the R, the reliability, okay? The next one we looked at was functionality. All right, so how many times when you guys get your feedback, are you getting people, your customers that are going, I'm missing features. I really love Confluence, but if it had this, this, and this, I would tell everybody, right? Or I'm really close to liking it, but if I had this, I know I would get more people in the company to use it. Also, in the case of the would likes or might help. This could help me if my team had this plugin. This would help my team if I could have this install. The next thing we also looked at was, so we got functionality, reliability, and usability. So when we talk about usability, we look at the complexity, right? As you guys use our products, you probably are looking at that as well, right? Maybe some of the things, workflows or processes, are a little complex. Again, look at your products. The ease of use, is it easy to use? Can I find a feature that I know is there, but I really don't know how to use it? Or somebody says it's there and I would really like to apply it, but I don't know how to configure it, right? So again, that was usability. So we looked at all of them and we said, all right, let's call it FUR. And we said, you know what, we're probably at the wrong convention, talking about something totally different. So that doesn't sound good, right? So what did we end up doing? We shook it up and we came up with RUF. And RUF stands for reliability, usability, and functionality. What did that do? Okay. So the biggest thing that allowed us to do, and we hope that it can help you guys, is it allowed us to take 15,000 comments a day, right? And with data, with algorithms, with SQL, which we hope that in the next couple months we can share some of that stuff with you, is that we were able to take all that and group it into structure, right? Now, did it resolve everything? No. Were we able to say, hey, we don't need to read this comments because we've already roughed it out? No. But what it allows us to do is it allows us to say, you know what? There are areas that we need to improve on. And we know where the core of our feedback is coming from. So let's talk about some of the learnings. So there's one product that I want to talk about in particular, and that's Confluence. I want to share with you some of the feedback that we got from Confluence, what we learned, and what action has taken place. So right now, we talked about 15,000. If we look at the last 3 months of feedback that we've gotten from Confluence, is we've gotten about 40,000 comments, right? So we said, all right, that's a lot. What can we do? Well, we roughed it out, all right? In addition to rough, we actually applied a little magic, okay? And we found some interesting stuff, right? So what we found out as we started looking at this data was that out of all the feedback that we got, that 23% had to do with reliability. It's slow. What do we say? Reliability was slow, didn't understand it, performing, okay? The next was usability. I really want to understand how to use it. I would like to improve on that. And then the fourth is functionality. I would really like this feature, okay? So as we got more even deeper into some of this data, we found out, we broke that down and said, okay, of that 23%, 20% had to do with performance, 3% bugs, and then so on and so forth, right? So why are we sharing this data with you? Well, we're an open company, no bullshit. We want to tell you where our feedback is coming from because a lot of it comes from you. But one of the things we wanted to do was to figure out how we could take a company. Now, all of you, right, work for companies that have limited resources, okay? We have, much like at Atlassian, we have limited resources in the people that we can use, right? But one of the things that we were able to do, the Confluence team was able to do, was to take their teams and focus on those three specific areas, right? So when let me look, I'm gonna go back really quickly. So if you were to have $1, or you were to have 100 developers, right? And you were to focus, put your money and your effort into improving something. Looking at this, probably where would you spend most of your time and your effort? Okay? So probably, in this case, I'd probably focus on performance, right? Because it's got a lot of the R, as well as some of the complexity and content. So one of the the really cool things that we were able to do is kind of group it into understanding where most of the work needed to go, right? So I'm going to fast forward again to where I was. So the focus of that content allows us to, again, another click, was to say, hey, if we're going to focus on 3 things, we probably want to focus on what? Performance, content, and complexity, okay? We're going to continue to improve on performance, but if all of that feedback is coming from the specific areas, we really have to work on that. So I'm sorry because I can't see the next slide, so I don't know what the next slide is. So I'm thinking the next slide is one of the things we actually looked at was how many of you ever heard of a metric called AppDex before? Do you guys know what AppDex is? Okay, we got one of the Confluence guys in the back that clearly knows what AppDex is. So AppDex is page performance, right? So at Atlassian, one of the things we looked at was how can we improve one particular area, which was performance. And now the way that we looked at that with metrics is we determined that if we could prove AppDex as page time improved, the hope that would be what? That more people would be happy. So, this wasn't that slide. So what we ended up doing was we actually took all that feedback and we said, guys, our goal is not to tell you the solution to fix things, but we're going to tell you the problems. And the problems are that data is affecting us, right? That it's affecting our churn, that it's affecting our insights. We then created tickets in Jira with the product manager's help, giving them information, allowing them to fill it out, right? So we really didn't have to, we could do it, but we really wanted the product managers to help us, accountability. And then finally just kind of linked it. So if you remember, Mike and Scott talked a little about using Project Central and how to create projects that had trackable insights. So we actually created a project in Project Central, which was include improving performance and tie it to that page. So did it work? We used the metrics of AppDex. I think it did. So we told you, we were talking about as, what was it, the percentage? You guys remember the percentage of performance mentions or performance 20%? Okay. So as the teams were working on improving performance, which if anybody's in the cloud is hopefully seeing improvements at Confluence, is the mentions have started to decline. So to kind of give you a little more detail into that, as our AppDex pages started to improve, so too did the mentions, right? And in addition, we looked at it and said, okay, let's go back to that rough categorization. We saw that 13% went, the 20% that we mentioned had gone from April to September down from 20% to 13, which is a 36.2% decline, right? In addition, we were working on other areas, but our core was to figure out what we could do to improve performance. So again, what that allowed us to do, it allowed us to gain back some of those customers that potentially were frustrated with us. One of the customers that we have, a developer said, lots of features, it's easy to use. Main pain point, main frustrations that I had were based on performance. A lot faster, and as it gets a lot faster, I actually might recommend it more, right? So the cool thing, right, is that the hope is that as we work with customers and we improve things, that more happy customers, more satisfied customers, more active users. Page load speed is very improved, very much, okay? Some of the quotes. Got a lot of fist pumps. That's Sharif, our product manager. Ben, the last presenter, designed that. Thank you, Ben. And we did give a couple high fives. Unfortunately, I couldn't have anything pop up, but hey. So it was a great way to celebrate the success. So again, my goal is not to tell you guys and explain all in detail all the changes, but I really want to just take the last couple of minutes and give you some insights and give you some tips and tricks to do the same thing. Now, I don't know if you're getting is anybody getting 15,000 comments a week? Is anybody getting more than 15,000 comments a week? Okay, I'm gonna buy you a beer. So chances are you might not be getting that. You might not be getting, 100 to 1,000 to 1,000,000, right? My goal is not to it's amazing, but I want to give you a couple insights that'll help you to categorize that. So again, it's a takeaway service. I'll give you my card if you have any questions. I am here to help you guys, help your teams to do that. So let's first talk about one of the things that you guys can do. The first is categorize and measure. Now, if you recall, one of the first things we did was to kind of figure out where all the sources are. Chances are all of you are getting feedback and all of you have it from multiple channels. If you have Facebook, if you have mentions, you're getting it in. Some companies don't look at it, don't use it. It's extremely valuable information. So as you are looking at it, find the sources to where all the data is coming from. And the next thing was just like kind of measuring that feedback. Who's it from? What area is it affecting? And how many people have said it? So one of the things that will actually help you is to determine at what percentage of traffic and how often your sources are coming in. Last is to categorize the content. Now, RUF has been extremely useful for us, and I would love for you guys to rough out your product, your feedback, and tell us how it worked. But group your feedback into themes to give you clarity and insights, right? The reason why is kind of to the next step, which is kind of understand the impact to your insights. Now, one of the things we try to do at Atlassian is determine what those red lines are. Now, when I talk about red lines is if you have a product that is getting higher mentions of the F, which is functionality, and lower R or U, chances are you're going to probably put most of your efforts into that F, right? So as you guys look at all that feedback, even before it, determine what your red lines are. If reliability gets above a percentage, 10%, then we really have to make sure that we reassess the company, reassess the teams, not spend time focusing on the functionality of creating a new product, but more working on the structure, infrastructure, and system. Get commitment. I am a firm believer that you guys, all of you, your teams, anybody that's possibly working on this, can get all the insights they want, but if nobody actions it, it is absolutely useless, okay? If your company is not willing to get that commitment, please call me. I will give any testimonials, insights, anybody I need to talk to about how valuable. Again, I hope in the last day and a half, you've seen that we've gathered those insights and we've taken action on them. If we haven't and you don't think we have, please let me know because it is extremely important to the voice of the customer to change based on your feedback. Last is establish your baselines. You can't determine how things are changing if you don't know where they are. So if you're using NPS, set what you want your score to be. Set RUF. The same thing was with CSAT. Does everybody know what CSAT is, customer satisfaction scoring? Okay. Set your baselines. If you don't have a metric, implement a metric. It's the concept of the quality, the quantum quality, is that as you look at it, data will help you determine the what, the score, and your content will help you understand, the feedback will understand the why, right? So understand those and establish a baseline to improve. Build the system. Create 3 to 5 opportunities per product. So one of the things that has been extremely valuable to us is that we could probably come up with 10, 20, probably 30 insights of things, probably hundreds of insights of things that we had to improve on. But if I was to give 100 things of focus to the product manager, to the developer, to the executive, right? Probably a lot of things aren't going to get done because there's so much of it. One of the things that I strongly suggest is find 3 to 5 of them that are impacting your product, and let your executives know. Okay, communicate them. Monitor your improvements. So one of the things that we do is, if you saw one of the slides, it was scorecards. Every single month, we actually create scorecards. And what the scorecard is, just allows us to sit there and go, here's the score. Remember that measurement, that baseline that I told you about? Is it allows us to create the scorecard to say, here's where we are, here's where we're improving, here's we haven't made any improvement, and here's areas of focus. Create it, measure it, and really get that out. If you want any suggestions on a good scorecard, again, please let me know. I'm happy to share some of that. I have to blur some of that stuff out, but I'm happy to give you the template and allow you guys to kind of create one on your own. Okay. Last in this area is to communicate internally. Communicate the impact to the business with constantly sharing that feedback. As a company, and I didn't put these slides, but again, I don't know if you saw this, that every single all hands that we do, we actually send and share customer feedback, your feedback, with everybody in the company. One thing that Scott didn't mention is we actually, every single week, send out an email. So I talked to that monthly scorecard. We actually have a weekly kind of, we call a customer digest, and we send out the scorecard. We send out comments. And again, it's not to bug people about it and to get in their face, but it's to inform our company and our employees that the most important thing to improving the business is you, right? So we try as much as we can to continue to communicate that feedback. Last but not least, and the most important thing that I could probably give to you is close that loop, okay? So one of the things that we've been trying to work on really hard the last couple of months at Atlassian is to communicate. If you get feedback from your customers, you need to close that loop. How many times have you guys probably gotten a bad experience at a restaurant or from some type of service, and you want to communicate that feedback, but it kind of feels like you're giving that feedback to an empty hole that nobody's listening. It frustrates you. It's frustrated me. Make sure you close that loop and communicate to your customers that do give you that feedback that you are listening. Insights and no promises. Now, what I mean by that is that the comments, as you see kind of the RUFing the themes, they come in themes. They're going to make changes and share it. Don't ever be ashamed. First off, does anybody, we've started this process of closing the loop. Has anybody gotten the email that we have sent out to some of our customers that gave feedback? Okay. Well, literally what we've done is we just basically sent an email and said, we're making changes, we're sorry you're frustrated. And for Confluence, as an example, we said for the next couple of months, we are working on performance, complexity, content, and mobile, right? And we just said, hey, we can't promise you when it's going to come out, but I want to be clear that we are working to improve, and here are the 4 areas that we've aligned in the company to improve. Again, it's not saying spilling our beans and saying here's all the insights and here's how we're improving, but it allows us to say we are working to change. Email and blog about it. So you're going to probably see in the next couple of days some blog posts regarding the changes that were made to the performance and Confluence. If you guys make changes to your products that are affecting customers, make sure that you blog and email about it. Communicate to your customers that the changes and the feedback they have actually been made. Last but not least, Simon Sinek. Have you ever heard of him? Knowing the Why? Great author. Highly suggest you read the book. He says, directions are instructions given to explain how. Direction is a vision offered to explain why. So we talked a lot, and I was the last talk of this conference. My hope is that I gave you some directions for you to give direction in what you do. It is up to you. but I can promise you that if you listen, if you apply it, and you help your customers, that they will impact your business. It will help you, and you will have more satisfied customers and more users. That's the workshop wall. We're closing, but if you have the opportunity, go and check out the Voice of the Customer workshop wall. We would love your feedback. Thank you.